All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah.
You know how we do it around here. Get ready to go deep on some seriously fascinating stuff. And today we're talking about, from the title, it's the Black Dahlia.
A case that just won't quit.
Exactly, and for good reason, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
send over some sources on this, and wow, talk about a story that just grabs you and won't let go.
It's got it all, the glamour of Hollywood, the dark side of fame, a brutal unsolved murder, and a nickname that just sends chills down your spine.
Yeah, the Black Dahlia, it's like something out of a classic film noir.
And the case itself feels like it was ripped from the pages of a pulp novel, but this is real life we're talking about, and that's part of what makes it so unsettling.
Totally. And we're going to unpack all of it,
Yeah.
the facts, the theories,
Yeah.
and the enduring fascination with this case. First, let's rewind back to 1947 to the very beginning.
To a sunny Los Angeles morning that turned into a nightmare.
All right, so picture this January 15, 1947, a seemingly normal day, right?
Yeah, as normal as it gets in the City of Angels, I guess.
And a mother, she's walking with her young daughter, and they come across something horrifying.
A body right there in plain sight, just feet from the sidewalk.
And not just anybody.
Yeah.
This was Elizabeth Short, brutally murdered, and the way she was left, it was like a scene straight out of a horror movie.
It's gruesome. I mean, severed at the waist, posed naked. It's like the killer wanted to make a statement.
Yeah, there was no attempt to hide the body. It's
Yeah.
almost like it was meant to be found, meant to shock.
Exactly. And the lack of blood at the scene is another chilling detail.
Meaning what?
It means the murder didn't happen there. She was killed somewhere else and then brought to that location, transported and carefully positioned.
Wow, so meticulous and brazen. At the same time, it's a really disturbing combination.
Absolutely. It speaks to a certain level of premeditation on the killer's part and possibly a desire to taunt the authorities.
And then there's the speed with which the FBI identified Elizabeth Short, 56 minutes. They did it in using this thing called sound photo technology.
Pretty impressive, right?
Yeah.
Especially for 1947.
Yeah, in 1947, like fax machines were barely a thing.
Exactly. Sound photo was a very early form of fax technology, specifically used for transmitting fingerprints. So for the FBI to identify her that quickly back then, it was a huge deal.
It kind of makes you wonder if that rapid identification played a role in the case becoming so legendary. So it instantly fueled the media frenzy.
I think you're right. There's something about knowing the victim's name so quickly that personalizes the story in a way. And in this case, it put a face to the horror almost immediately.
And it's interesting that Elizabeth Short was already in the FBI's fingerprint database before all this.
Yeah, she had applied for a clerk job at an army base a while back and also had a minor run-in with the law and underage drinking charge. So both those instances led to her fingerprints being taken.
Wow, so the FBI already had a file on her.
They did. And what's really mind-blowing is that by 1947, the FBI had over 100 million fingerprint records in their system already.
That's incredible for that time period.
It is. It shows how sophisticated their identification system was even back then, and it played a crucial role in cracking this case wide open. Well, at least in terms of identifying the victim.
Right. But identifying the killer, that's a whole other story.
Definitely a story that's still being written in a way, even though it happened all those years ago.
Exactly. So we have this young woman, Elizabeth Short, comes to Hollywood, chasing her dreams, just like so many others. And then this horrific thing happens to her. And then the nickname surfaces, the Black Dahlia. Where did that even come from?
It's a nickname shrouded in mystery, just like the case itself. Some say it was because she was known to wear a lot of black clothing. Others link it to the film The Blue Dahlia, which was a big hit around the same time.
Okay, I see the connection.
Yeah, it's a film noir thriller, lots of shadows, and intrigue kind of fits the mood of the whole Black Dahlia case, right?
For sure. It's such an evocative name, and it really adds to the whole mystique of the story. But, names aside, let's talk about the actual investigation, because the FBI was pretty heavily involved, weren't they?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It went way beyond just identifying Elizabeth Short. They were digging deep, running background checks on a ton of potential suspects. They were conducting interviews all across the country. It was a massive effort.
Wow. So they were really pulling out all the stops trying to crack this case.
Yeah, it was a high-profile case right from the start, and the FBI wanted to be involved every step of the way. They were working closely with the LAPD, sharing information and resources.
And what about the direction of the investigation? Did they have any solid leads early on?
Well, one of the early theories they focused on was the way Elizabeth Short's body was bisected. It was so precise that investigators thought the killer might have had some kind of anatomical knowledge.
Oh, wow, like a surgeon or something.
Exactly. They actually started looking into medical students at USC for a time.
That's pretty intense. Imagine being a medical student back then and suddenly the FBI is knocking on your door.
Right, talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time, but that lead eventually fizzled out, as many others did in this case.
And then there's that whole thing with the anonymous letter, possibly sent by the killer taunting the police. It's such a classic element in these kinds of stories.
It is, isn't it? It's like the killer wants to insert themselves into the narrative, wants to be recognized.
Yeah, like a twisted game of cat and mouse.
And the letter even contained a partial fingerprint, which must have given investigators some hope.
Oh, so they had something to work with.
They did, but unfortunately, even with their massive fingerprint database, the FBI couldn't find a match.
Another dead end.
It was, and it's one of the many reasons why this case remains so frustratingly unsolved.
So let's recap. We have a brutal murder, almost staged for maximum impact, a victim quickly identified, thanks to some pretty cutting-edge technology, the FBI deeply involved, and yet no answers.
Exactly. It's a puzzle with missing pieces, and it's been that way for decades.
It's no wonder people are still so obsessed with the Black Dahlia case.
It's a story that taps into our deepest fears and fascinations. It's the unsolved nature of it all, the lack of answers that keeps us hooked. Who was Elizabeth Short? Really, what were her dreams, and who could commit such a horrific act?
And the fact that it happened in Hollywood, the land of glamour and broken dreams, it just adds another layer to the whole thing, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The Black Dahlia case is like this dark counterpoint to the idealized image of Hollywood. It reminds us that even in the City of Angels, there are shadows lurking beneath the surface, and that those shadows can sometimes consume even the brightest of hopes.
It's a reminder that the darkness can touch anyone, anywhere, even in the heart of the supposed dream factory.
And that's perhaps the most unsettling aspect of this whole story.
And what's fascinating is that the Black Dahlia case continues to inspire new theories. Books, documentaries, films. It's like the legend itself is constantly evolving.
That's the power of an unsolved mystery, especially one with such a captivating name and such a brutal crime at its center. The Black Dahlia case isn't just a cold case file, it's a cultural phenomenon.
And for anyone listening, I'd say this is just the beginning of the journey. We've only scratched the surface here. There's so much more to uncover, so many more layers to this story.
Yeah, do some digging of your own.
Yeah.
There are countless books, articles, documentaries out there. Dive into the world of 1947 Hollywood, explore the evidence, the suspects, the theories, and maybe you'll stumble upon something that everyone else has missed.
It's a case that invites endless speculation, and that's part of its allure, I think. So, yeah, go down the rabbit hole, folks. See where it leads. You never know what you might find. And if you come up with any groundbreaking theories, be sure to let us know.
We're always up for a good Black Dahlia debate.
That's right. So until next time, happy sleuthing, everyone. And remember, in the City of Angels, sometimes the darkest shadows hide in the brightest lights.